Members, good morning. My call to order meeting of the Establishment Subcommittee. We've formed a quorum already. We have 4 papers on the agenda for our paper. EC 2015 1416 01 have been circulated to members. It includes the information on changes in the directorate grade establishment, and also the impact on the directorate grade establishment if the papers are passed today. May I remind members to declare interest in accordance with ROP 83A if you have a direct or indirect pecuniary interest in any of the item involved on the agenda. Please disclose the nature of interest before you speak. And may I draw members' attention to ROP 84 in relation to voting arrangements on matters where you have a direct pecuniary interest. The first item on the agenda is EC 2014-15-19, a paper wrote forward from our last meeting, and members are invited to recommend to Finance Committee the creation of the following permanent posts in the Hong Kong Police Force with effect from the date of approval by the Finance Committee. 1 Chief Superintendent of Police, so as to strengthen the force capability in preventing and combating the technology crimes and responding to cybersecurity incidents. Because the paper was already introduced to members at the last meeting, I will skip introduction by the administration today. And at the request of members raised on the 11th of March, the administration has provided a supplementary information paper on the 2nd of April, paper number ESC 67/1415-01. For members who would like to ask questions, please press the request to speak button. Mr. Ng Shing. Tentatively, each member can have 5 minutes for questions and answers. Mr. Ng Shing. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I'd like to indicate my support for this paper because, as we all know, we are all concerned about cybercrime, and there must be professional handling of such crimes. So I have 2 questions. I'd like to understand whether the administration has set out the post qualifications and whether there is already a competent candidate within the force that can take up the post. And last night there was a major incident. 6 criminals are still at large. And it said the information was, a lot of information was available on the internet. I'd like to know whether that would impede the police tactics in trying to arrest those criminals. Mr. Lee, thank you. When trying to find the appropriate Chief Superintendent of Police to amend the post, we have some requirements in mind. He must have very high organizational skills, because he will have to liaise with various organizations within the government and without, and even overseas organizations in taking action. And he must be highly organized, and he must have high administrative skills, because we hope that the post can have some strategic deployment in enhancing the force capability in preventing and combating technology crimes. He has a lot of work to do, and he has to liaise with various international police forces. He should learn from their practices, and he should also enhance the force ability in combating and preventing cybercrimes. The post will also require the incumbent to have good decision-making ability, because very often decisions have to be made at a split second, and he should be able to do so. So we have special requirements in these aspects. Well, we do know that we have more than one candidates within the force who are fit to take up the post, subject to members' agreement. If the post is created, we will have a lot of choices within the force. Regarding the flow of information, the availability of information on the Internet, will criminals be able to know the police deployment, making it more challenging for the police to enforce the law? This is, of course, a fact. Availability of information can help both the law-abiding and as well as unscrupulous elements of society, and therefore the police must upgrade its tactics and deployment. And very often, police operations have to be kept confidential in order to be effective. Well, it's a fact that we can have easier access to information and more information on the Internet, and that's why we have to upgrade the division. Not only do we have to enhance the manpower and expertise, we have to ensure that the police will be able to face up to the challenge of how to keep police deployment operation confidential in the current situation. Mr. Charles Mock, I have a number of questions to ask, but I will follow up on a question asked a month or so ago. Back then, or perhaps the administration felt that it had already come to a conclusion, though members disagreed. Members were concerned that we didn't have a lot of understanding about the work of this division, and we asked whether we could visit the division to understand the work of the division. And however, the Deputy Commissioner told us that the place, the center, was kept confidential and outsiders could not visit the center. In April 2013, on the 22nd, in fact, 7 members of the Executive Council visited the center, and including Mrs. Regina Ip, who was also a legislator back then, and also Mr. Barry Zhang, who is now no longer in EXCO and who has gone bankrupt. The then CPO, he is still the CP now, accompanied them. I don't understand why the administration didn't say that it was okay for EXCO members to visit the center but not legislators, because we could not be trusted. Not only Mrs. Regina Yip has got such information on her website and Facebook, and then the event was also reported by Apple Daily on the 22nd of April 2013. So it has been more than a month since I put that request to you. So have you reconsidered this request and allow us to visit the center to allay our concerns? Now, if there are things that you cannot show us, in fact, members may not be able to understand such things. But an appropriate degree of transparency is necessary to give us confidence that we can really engage in a cooperation so that we can consider supporting you. I'm sure this attitude will go a long way. So what is your decision after more than a month's consideration? Mr. Lee? Thank you. I think we already clarified what Mr. Mok asked last time. I think I have to repeat the correction. Regarding the visits by EXCO to that center. Back then, the center was not in full operation. This fact was reiterated or stressed by the police last time. It is very different from the center we have now. We have to support the operation of the site. Now, we are not really targeting at any individual. Even I myself have not visited the center. We want to ensure that people will be allowed to visit it on a need-to-know basis. What Mr. Mlang Singh said exactly reflects why we must keep the operational details of the Network Security Center confidential, because if information is leaked, the hackers and also people or criminals who would like to attack Hong Kong would stand to gain most. We want to ensure the center's capability, and the ultimate goal is to protect the public and also the society from cyber attacks. So, Mr. Mok, I hope you can understand. Operational details and our capability and modus operandi must be kept secret so that we can continue to protect Hong Kong. Well, you talked about need-to-know basis. As legislators, I do believe that we have the constitutional duty to decide whether we should give you our approval for creating that post, and exactly we have the need to know. Mr. Mok, I think you have to wait for another round. Does any member wish to speak on this? Press the button, please. Dr. Fernando Zhang, 5 minutes, please. Of course. This place, which is responsible for cyber safety and for monitoring technology crimes, of course, have to be kept confidential to a certain degree. But can the police explain to us how come members of the EXCO, and of course one of them was a legislator, could visit the center and not us?
The EXCO is a decision-making body. It's an advisory body, highest advisory body to the CE. But this council is also an institution which approves the use of public funds. In the decision-making process, if some members feel the need to conduct a visit, then you refuse the LegCo members and you let EXCO members to conduct a visit, and then you have a lot to explain. Now you mention confidentiality. I believe you respect members of this council and the members of the EXCO. They all understand the need of confidentiality. Please point out, what are the differences between the EXCO and the LegCo? Why LegCo members are not allowed to visit, whereas EXCO members are allowed? The Under Secretary. Let me explain the third time. Last time when EXCO members visited the center was not in full operation. It was at the very preliminary stage. It was not operating at full steam. It was at the early stage of the center. And it's only at a late stage that the center was in full swing operation. It's not about the status of the persons. When it is in full operation, then those who need to know will be allowed to visit. This is not the practice only in Hong Kong. Last time at this committee's meeting, I've already explained that overseas countries also have adopted the same. Now, we've asked to visit certain cyber centers in overseas countries, but we are refused. I have nothing against anybody. I have already explained that I've never visited the center, and not any official who wants to visit the center is allowed. Even if you visit the center, the things one is led to see is given on a need-to-know basis. That's the practice overseas, and that's our practice. I hope. Chairman, let me put it simply. Mr. Chang, now when it was not in full operation, then they were not able to see the operation of the cyber center. For EXCO members, they have the need to know, but for LegCo members, they have no need to know. Can you explain when the visit was conducted on this center, which had yet to be fully operated, what was the need? Now, this is the fourth time. Let me be more clearly. After full operation, it was on a need-to-know basis. Before full operation, sensitive information was not happening, said the speaker. That was not operated on a need-to-know basis. I said it many times before. I hope members know that we try to cooperate. But if we do not uphold the security and confidentiality, Chairman, I now understand there is the need to keep things confidential, but they have they have double standards. When there is no need to know, they allow visits. When there is need to know, they don't allow us to visit. You have a problem because you are not impartial. Mr. Chen Chi-chun, no matter n times he said he answered the question, the stuff he said were not convincing to us. To visit such so-called high security facility, what can be allowed to see and what cannot be allowed to see are all in the control of the authorities. When the FC or the ESC organizes a visit, you say you allow us to conduct a visit, and when we are at the door, you may say that this door cannot be closed, cannot be opened. And we will not just we can't just burst the door open to see what's inside. It's all in your hands. I think there are two strong reasons. One is it was not in full operation. Now it is in full operation. After full operation, no living person is allowed to come near. And the second argument is that you have never been there before. But does it mean that if you have never been there before, then other members are not allowed to conduct a visit? I don't agree. In terms of the 180 people in this bureau who can enter this center, who are the other people who can enter this center, including visits, and who have been there before? Can you provide the information? The Undersecretary. Maybe I ask the police answer the question. Ms. Ho. After the center is in full operation, within the police force, we still, apart from the 180, how many of them within the criminal units, our commissioner, and also senior officials of the criminal wing who have to command the center, or who have to know the operation of the center. Here they have the operational need to visit the center, understand the operation and its capability. How many of them? Can you give me a name list? Since it is so highly confidential, since security level is so high, even the undersecretary are not able to have access. Can you provide us a list? We'll check and report to members. Chairman, we ask for the lowest level of visit, even the data center of the HKEX, which is of high security, we can conduct a visit. How much can we see? We might just stay in the conference room, have a chat, and then go around the glass panels and just peek inside. Now you say it is highly confidential. Do we need to sign an agreement and then make an oath? Now you say if you want to visit overseas centers and you are not allowed, and therefore you don't allow Hong Kong councillors to visit the cyber center. I think it is a matter of principle. It's not about personal preference. I'm not talking about personal preference or needs. Any person visiting the place will know something. And such information should be kept secret according to the design of the center. And therefore, we set the need-to-know basis as the principle. As for need to know, we mean operational decision in terms of operation, in terms of decision-making, it is need to know. That's the principle of other police forces. Overseas, it is a national standard. If Mr. Albert Chan, please keep quiet. It's just a joke, Mr. Chairman. It's a joke, so I laugh. Now, this is a very serious matter of principle. In the Interpol, in the cooperation between the police force, we need to be crucial. Your time is up. We have heard the demand of many members who asked to conduct a visit. I want to ask the Undersecretary, last time you said that after the center was in full operation, no one outside the police has ever visited the center. Can you confirm that information is correct? No one outside the police force has visited the center after the center has been in full operation. And tell me, in which year, in which month the center started full operation? EXCO members visited the center, did many things, and saw many things, and there were presentation slides. Do you have an updated presentation slides? An updated set of presentation slides to make a presentation so that you can give some information to us. Chairman. The center was in full operation in May or June. We have the responsibility to let members know as far as possible the operation of the center, and if the police can provide presentations to enable members to know more about the center and let members feel easier, then I think if the presentation is helpful, we're willing to do that. Next, Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Thank you, Chairman. I've heard so far that the Undersecretary is saying that we are not allowed to visit the Cybersecurity Center because of the need-to-know basis. But if you switch on a computer, when we ask questions, what answer you give and what information you give us to know are all decided by your colleagues. When we walk in, we can only see computers and nothing more. I can't imagine why just walking into a computer center will jeopardize your operation or your other specific issues. Everybody knows if you just hold the hardware in your hands, you really don't know what the operation is like. Your answer has unduly attracted the controversies. In fact, it could have been an issue which could be endorsed by this committee easily, without your words. Now we ask for visiting the cyber center, but you say we are not allowed, and because of the need-to-know basis. And the need-to-know basis is that we cannot know how the hardware operates if we just have the hardware and have no software. And how much information about the software can be made available is entirely in the hands of colleagues. I think this morning's controversy is entirely uncalled for, entirely unnecessary. It seems that just asking to look at the hardware is an unreasonable demand. That's really unreasonable on your part. And you just prevent us from endorsing your proposal. The Undersecretary. We fully understand that the LegCo has the power to monitor the government, or the duty to monitor the government, and the LegCo also wants to know the reasons and justifications for the establishment of these posts. I'm speaking on the matter of principle. I have nothing against. I have nothing personal against anybody. We need to keep it confidential, as we need to know. We mean decision, operation. Need to know in this regard, not administratively. Where administratively, many officials can go on a need-to-know basis. We are responsible to let you know the operation of the center, and we are willing to make a presentation.
Well, if you like to see the computers, yes, we can do some demonstrations and presentation. But our principle is the Cybersecurity Center has to be kept confidential. We appeal to members' understanding. I fully agree that it is our responsibility to let you understand the operation of the center. So I will discuss with our colleagues as far as possible to see how a demonstration can be staged so that you can have a better understanding of the operation of the center. So you say that we should not know about the Cybersecurity Center. Are you saying that we shouldn't even be told of the whereabouts of the center? Is that one of the things that have to be kept confidential, Mr. Lee? Yes, the same question was asked at the last meeting. Well, there are a number of factors to consider when it comes to confidentiality. The location, perhaps the physical security is just as important, because the physical security is important. Well, terrorism, terrorist activities, and cyber attacks, you have to know the physical location before you can attack it. So physical security is one of the elements in security concept. Secretary, I have a Question. Well, after EXCO members have visited your center, all of them know the physical location of your security center. You don't have to answer me unless you are saying that after the visit by EXCO members, you have relocated your center. Otherwise, the physical location or security is no longer an issue because you cannot ensure that all EXCO members or no EXCO members would leak the physical location of your center. Next. Mr. Bachet. Well, I'm so happy to hear the Deputy Commissioner talk about international standards. So I'd like to ask what international standards are included. We have to understand this. Otherwise, the international standards you have in mind may be entirely different from ours. Because in the electoral reforms, we have that problem, and also in other issues. How can you ensure that the cybersecurity center will operate according to your international standards? Because, as we all know, since Zhang Weihong became the CP, the police do not follow their internal guidelines anymore. For instance, the guidelines state that police batons cannot be used to smash people's head, and pepper spray should not be administered directly at people. It should be sprayed at a certain angle. And when the 87 rounds of tear gas were launched, those guidelines were not followed. So in recent years, of course, you and the CP will not admit to this fact, but objectively, the police have done a series of things to against its fine tradition, which is over 30 years old. And then you're going to set up something new. Even your old fine tradition is collapsing. And how can we trust you if you're going to establish something new? I hope you can try to convince us and explain to the public why, in your view, this cybersecurity center will not have a political task, political mission. You said that no outsiders have ever visited your center. Does that include your good friends from the mainland and those penal institutions from the mainland? Well, mutual cooperation between police forces all over the world. And Mr. Albert Chan would like to ask about the international standards. I'm more than happy to explain to members. There are a number of factors when it comes to confidentiality. For instance, if for a particular facility we're of the view that there are risks, then the physical location, the defense, the manpower, the capability, the equipment, etc., have to be kept secret. The security arrangements and facilities, of course, differ from case to case, and I think this is just basic security information. Regarding the operation of the center, the police have very strict regulations about that. I will give the floor to Mr. Ho, CSP, to explain. Madam Ho, thank you. Yes, may I supplement what the DCP said? Let me stress that the cybersecurity center is kept strictly confidential. A member said that 180 members of the CSTB, or rather the TCD, can have access to the center. This is wrong. Well, we have 2 divisions. Now, for those who are stationed in the Technology Crime Division colleagues, they cannot gain access to the center. And if our Cyberwatch team has no special reasons to go into the center, well, he is not allowed to gain access to the center as well. As the DCP said, the physical location and also the capability of the center have to be kept secret. And even for for people allowed to go into the center, we have very strict integrity vetting, and we have strict compartmentalization. We have a series of proven management measures to ensure that the very confidential work is conducted, is carried out in a very confidential environment. Yes, you can wait for another round. Mr. Leong Kwok Hong. Well, I have seen a movie. I've seen many movies when, for instance, a hostage has to be protected, the person would not reveal the details, even he was held at gunpoint. All right, you allow EXCO members to go there and to take a photo. Could that be allowed? Last time I didn't want to make life difficult for you. You said that you could not tell us the location of the center. You said that because people could attack you with a bomb or whatever if they know the location of the center. Now, you say that the security system is very strict. First, have you ever written to that influential member of EXCO to delete that photo from her Facebook? Do you have the power to tell her that, now, I will not allow this to continue? Have you ever done so? No. All right, perhaps I should just name the member, Regina Ip, disclosed in the Facebook that she has been to this and that. All right, for the Filipino, for the issue involving the Filipino domestic helpers is okay, but for this thing, have you ever written to her asking her to delete the photos? So you have to be convincing. Of course, your attitude to electrical members is excellent. You hint more than once that we are ignorant. I think you are setting a very bad example for children. Somebody did something which was obviously wrong. Now, many people are watching this live broadcast. Can you comment on that behavior? Should that behavior be corrected? Do you want her to delete the photos? And do you want her to say to the public that such things should not be done again? You're not able to do this. So how can you convince me? Please comment on this incident first. When the guests went into the center, were they given a slip? I was. When I was arrested, I was taken to the police station. I was given a caution that I could remain silent and I could ask to see a lawyer. Have you ever told Mrs. or Madam, you must keep confidential? This is not a hostage house, and for this center, a number of lives are involved. Have you got any guidelines? Do you have any notice at conspicuous places of the center telling people that, well, you must not take photos here, you must be serious? Has Mr. Zhang CP told you anything about this? He and she used to be the secretary for security. The physical location, the physical security, cannot physical stabilities. You know, this is very important. Mr. Leung was correct in saying that a physical security center could be bombed. But for release of photos, well, before the center came into full operation, visits were allowed and no photo taking was allowed. So the photo was not really the center itself. So you are aware of the existence of those photos. Do you know whether those visitors were warned, asking them not to release the physical location of the center, because everyone can have access to that web page, even members of IS. Your time is up. I'll give you half a minute to supplement. During any visit to the cybersecurity center, no one can take photos. So the photo was not really the cybersecurity center itself.
Mr. Lee Chia-yan, Leung Kok-hong, you better wait in the line. Mr. Lee Chia-yan, Chairman, we are most worried that the application itself is not for dealing with a commercial crime mentioned by encountered by Regina Yip. In 2002, they have 24, and then afterwards they raise it to 98. Do they have enough people? I think they make use of cyber crime and commercial crime as the excuse to introduce the 1984 situation described by George Orwell. We don't want people's daily lives monitored by the government. You use it as an excuse. There are attacks, there are demonstrations, and therefore you need more monitoring, and you have resorted to the dishonest access to computers as the ground for prosecution, and you use cybercrime as the excuse to monitor everybody. We don't want people's privacy being eroded. Now you want to increase your manpower. If cyber security is to prevent hacking, that of course is in the interest of people's daily life and also business activities. But how are you going to distribute your new manpower? How many will be used to use in political monitoring? Let me answer Mr. Lee's question. We have zero body to do political monitoring. We only deal with crime. We only deal with behavior. If the behavior is in breach of the law, then we have to handle that. As for the reasons, the political background for the person and the political reasons for committing the crime, that is not the consideration of the police. There is no political monitoring, and we only deal with criminal behavior. And we know that you are just lying. You use criminal offense to package, to cover up your political monitoring. There is dishonest access to computer, and you also, and there is also the crime for inciting. You can use offense, criminal offense, as an excuse to do political monitoring. In fact, you cheating. You're just lying. How many persons, police officers. Let me narrow down the phrase. We don't use the term political monitoring. How many will be monitoring demonstrations or those criminal offenses? Those activities, you call them criminal offenses. There is no political monitoring. Collecting information in the cyberspace is just like police officers patrolling in the streets. If a police officer is patrolling in the street, let me put it this way. Let him finish, Mr. Lee. I just want a number. How many will do cyber patrolling? Assuming that you are on beat, okay? Many are doing cyber patrolling. How many of them will be doing cyber patrolling in your in this bureau? According to information provided, Mr. Lee, you can see that. In fact, we've given the establishment to the subcommittee. I see the table. I want the numbers. Those who are doing beat patrol in the cyberspace. Cybersecurity, there are 3 sections. One section deals with important infrastructure, the flow of important infrastructure. Say, for example, they're just like tunnels. How many vehicles are passing through, whether there is an increase in traffic volume. Some in cyberspace doing patrolling, like our daily street patrolling, and find out whether there is any information or intelligence about crime. We do not target at a specific position. It's just like ordinary patrolling. But you will patrol certain districts or areas. Your time is up. Next, Ms. Emily Lau. Chairman, we know that this is a serious problem. According to numbers provided by the administration, in 2002, 200 odd cases. In 2013, 5,000 odd cyber crimes. And economic loss rose from $40 million to $900 odd million. They are big numbers. But you also need to understand that we are concerned. You will conduct cyber patrolling. You will conduct monitoring. We really want to know whether you are to combat crimes or you monitor everybody. You refuse to give information. We are not allowed to conduct a visit. This is not acceptable. Now, if you say something is very sensitive, if certain information cannot be disclosed easily. Look at other parliaments. They have select committees looking into sensitive matters covering security and how government conducts its security tasks. These parliaments trust their parliament members, and such members have to comply with the rules. Now you say, but you don't allow us to conduct a visit, and you don't report to us. I have been talking to your authorities for a decade or so. There should be a select committee set up on behalf of this council to look into sensitive matters. Now, this is a very sensitive issue. You say it's needed, but members have concerns, and you don't allow people to see. We don't ask. Now, even you allow a high-level representation. You make a high-level representation, but you refuse to do so. How can we monitor the work of the government? I fully understand that we have the duty to explain to members so that members will support our proposal. And we also agree that the Council has the duty to monitor the government or the administration. I don't want to I really hope that there can be a mutual understanding in respect of a matter of principle. I've already explained it 5 or 6 times. We respect the role of the committee or subcommittee, but we really need to guard the bottom line for security. But I've already said that I will ask the police to consider how to conduct a demonstration to explain how the cybersecurity center works. The police is willing to do so. We tried our best as far as possible to meet the demands of members. Yes, please understand our intention, what we want to do. Well, of course we need to know.
No, and the public need to know. It's your job to facilitate us knowing.
If you say there is something sensitive, you can make an arrangement. And you should trust this council. You should trust members of this council. You cannot say you don't have the need to know. If that's the case, why you come here and ask for money? Go back to the director of your bureau and also the CE. We need to know. Otherwise, we don't need this meeting. Go back and think about it. It's not that sensitive matters should not be made known to this council. If that's the case, then you better not ask for money.
So allow me to answer it partly in English.
Go ahead.
There is an operational need to know. We are not talking about management need to know. We are not talking about executive need to know. That principle of need to know is on an operational basis. That is the principle adopted by global police force who has a responsibility on security matters.
Okay,
Chairman, there's a thing called parliamentary oversight. We need to know.
Thank you. 下一位係莫乃光議員，你係第二次發。
Next, Mr. Charles Mock, your second round, 5 minutes. Now, the Undersecretary keeps saying the operational need to know, but there is a constitutional need to know. We don't need to know operational matters, and we have repeated that many times before, but you keep saying the need to know basis. I don't think that will establish adequate mutual trust and adequate basis for cooperation. We have asked you many times, but you are not able to address our questions. Many members are concerned about the upgrading of this section, or division rather. Now this is a report by the Wenwei Pao on the 2nd February 2015. Now the Technology Crime Division will be upgraded, and then the Bureau will conduct in-depth investigation into the demonstrations, and 180 people will be arrested, and they will be brought to the books. That is on Wenwei Pao, and we are scared. Now, if you want to build mutual trust, you say that's not for political monitoring. But this article is very good. It has linked up many things. Now, don't think that you did it in the internet. The police don't know. In fact, Cap 200, the Crimes Ordinance, Section 161, dishonest access to computer is the basis for prosecuting you, and you will be convicted certainly. I have asked the Bureau and the DOJ for 2 years The DFJ at the special FC sitting in the front answered my question. Oh, did you ask a question? I didn't know. I didn't know. Recently, his colleagues are still answering my question and say that they are not able to provide any reply. I want to ask, you prosecute people under Section 161, but you are not able to provide how many have been prosecuted and the outcome of such prosecutions. This should be information in the public arena. The Security Bureau refused to provide information. The DOJ refused to provide information. Here is another report. 15th of February 2015, SCMP. The police obtain information from ISPs. 30 in 2013, 29 in 2014. And as at September 2014, 29. But October 2014 to February 2015, 101 cases. More than the total of previous 4 years. Is it because you have added 180 people and therefore you keep asking information to from ISPs? You harass the ISPs and try to check what people say in the internet. You try to get personal information from the ISPs. This is what I want to ask. If I can go to your center, let's sit down. Let us build mutual trust. Let's see what you are doing. Let's build mutual trust. I have these many questions in my hands. I have so many doubts about the integrity of this center. Yet you refuse to provide our information and therefore cannot have the information based on constitutional need to know. I believe that can be balanced. Now, Mr. Mok, can you give some time to the Secretary to answer a question?
I really cannot agree with Mr. Mok, and some of the facts are not true. I have done my utmost. I've been very conscientious in explaining to members the operation of the center. My attitude is extremely positive. I've done all I can to explain to you. And as I've said, I'm going to ask the police to prepare a demonstration for members. Why should I not do my utmost to give members confidence? And Chairman, will you allow me to finish my reply or at another time? Please go on. Section 161 of Cap 200. There was a motion debate in this council. As members know, Mr. Charles Moore advanced the same arguments in the debate, and there were views against him. Now let's take a look at the statistics. For cybercrimes, in real cybercrimes, in 2014 there were over 6,000 cases. Number of arrests. Those who were arrested and prosecuted under Section 161, only 10% of the cases, over 90% of the cases were not arrested or prosecuted, invoking Section 161, dishonest access to the computer. Facts do not lie. Then why didn't you give me the information earlier? You should have given me the information earlier. And I've been asking you for more than 2 years, and you have refused to give me the information. All right. Under Secretary, you have already given Mr. Mok the information he wants. Please, Mr. Mok. Mr. Albert Chen. I want the Undersecretary to convince me that the police are able to comply with their own guidelines and international standards. In recent years, it appears that even the Security Bureau cannot direct what the police should do. The police have breached their guidelines a number of times. For the 7 rogue police officers who beat up a member of the public at a dark corner, there is no action taken yet. So how can you convince us that this such a sensitive center will not do anything against international standards? Yes, we do trust international standards. The problem is you have repeatedly flouted international standards and guidelines in the past few years. And my second question was not answered. Even EXCO members were allowed to visit that center, and you didn't answer my previous question. Has any mainland official or any member from the penal institutions of the mainland or any secret members, secret communist members of the mainland visited the place? Or in future, will they be allowed to visit the place? If they can, what are the justifications? And how can you ensure that no visitors, the rule against visitors can be strictly enforced? How can you ensure that somebody will not just use their power and influence to breach the international guidelines and standards? Undersecretary, I will ask the police to answer the question as to whether any mainland official has visited the center. The police has won a lot of international acclaim, not in recent years. Yes, that was in the past, but nowadays there are a lot of reprimand, and I think he's talking about history. This comment by Mr. Bichen is wrong. What about those 7 rogue police officers beating up a member of the public at a dark corner? Is that in line with international standards? Mr. Bichen, please allow the Undersecretary to answer first. He said I was wrong. I'd like to ask whether the case of the 7 rogue police officers beating up a member of the public at a dark corner, is it in line with international standards? Well, Undersecretary, if you think that this is not a relevant question, you can refuse to answer it. No. How come it is not relevant? There are guidelines, and yet that's the case of the 7 rogue police officers. And why do you believe that this center will not breach international standards so as to please the Communist Party and their superior? Tell me why. Undersecretary. Well, the police has excellent capability in managing its force. All right, international acclaim, does that include that incident of the 7 rogue police officers? You talked about international acclaim. Hong Kong remains one of the safest cities in the world. Police officers beat up people at a dark corner. How come you say that is safe? A police officer raped a teenage girl in a police station. How can you call that safe? Answer my question. Don't distort things. The law and order situation is satisfactory. The overall crime rate in Hong Kong is lower than many international cities. My question is whether mainland public order officers or penal institution officers will be allowed to visit the center, police. No one from the mainland has ever entered the center. I'm talking about influential people from the mainland, members of the penal institutions from the mainland. Will they always be banned from the center? Why don't you answer that question? I already said that any mainland official from the mainland, regardless of his position or background or status, will not be allowed into the cyber security center. Mr. Tan Ka-piu. Of course, this is a new bureau. Members might have been too imaginative, but I'd like to know the background and professional qualifications of police officers that will be allowed that will be deployed to the new bureau. Because computer information and technology advance very quickly. So when it comes to the deployment of manpower to the bureau, will you have new entry qualifications? All right, reduction in crime rate and successful conviction are some of the indicators. And what other indicators do you have for the success of the bureau? Under Secretary, we do have the following requirements in selecting officers to man the posts of the bureau. Now, there are two types of officers. There are people who have professional training in cyber security. In the current division, there are about 94% of the colleagues with IT or computer qualifications, some holding a bachelor or master degrees, or PhD degrees, and some of them have gained qualifications in SENS Institute, a famous cybersecurity training center, and from Interpol. We have recognized trainers awarded the qualification by Interpol. They are qualified to train police officers tasked to deal with cybersecurity. We have trained officers in Singapore, Thailand, and also Korea. These officers are experienced and qualified, and they will lead their other colleagues, and gradually they will pass on this knowledge and expertise to other colleagues. And for new officers, they must be interested in technology, and they have the sensitivity, and so that they can be trained to deal with the ever-changing scene in technology. In this new bureau, we have a few indicators to measure its performance. Mr. Tang talked about the cybercrime rate and also the detection rate. And we want to protect our important infrastructures, those in our banking industry, in our public transport sector. We will ask our colleagues in the cybersecurity division to visit these important places to step up their cybersecurity. And those who are willing to cooperate with us, we will carry out audits for them to ensure value for money for the Bureau. Every year, we will consider the number of such audits and the number of contingency plans made. And cooperation or mutual drills with owners of these important infrastructure. And the number of vampire attacks or zombie attacks they've tackled, and the number of fake websites they have tackled. So we will ask for annual reports on these aspects. And if members of the council would like us to provide such information, we're happy to do so. Any other members? Okay. If members have no further questions, I will now put this item to the vote. With those in favor of paper EC 2014-15-19, raise their hands. I ask for a division. Mr. Wong Ting Kong claims a division. The division bell will ring for 5 minutes.
好彩做埋呢個嘅啫，今日。
Right. Voting begins. Before I declare the outcome, please check your votes. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. The result is 9 in favor, 14 against, no abstention. The proposal is not carried. Thank you to the government officials. We now move on to agenda item number 2, which is EC 2014-1520. Transport Department. The Transport Department proposes recommend to the Finance Committee creation of one Chief Electrical and Mechanical Engineer and one Principal Executive Officer. D1. The first one is to head the standard vehicle license and standards unit, and the other is to the second is to be offset by deleting the permanent post of one Chief Executive Officer. The administration consulted the Transport Panel on the 16th January to answer members' questions. The officials are here. They are already here. The names are in the list. Mr. Michael Tien, Chairman of the Transport Panel, is not a member of this subcommittee, and he is not able to attend today's meeting according to the information provided by the Secretariat. I will highlight the discussions by the Transport Panel. The Transport Panel on the 16th of January 2015 discussed this establishment proposal. Members generally support the proposal. Members asked the administration while adding this Chief Electrical and Mechanical Engineer post, should study whether there should be whether there are enough staff members supporting the CEME. And some members of the view that the relevant laws and procedures in respect of vehicle examination and approval should be updated, and if need be, the laws should be amended so as to save manpower. And the Transport Department should also strengthen its manpower to boost vehicle examination so as to avoid long waiting time. Mr. Tang Ka-pio, 5 minutes each. I want to raise several concerns. First, the waiting time for vehicle examination is getting longer and longer. That is related to the increase of the number of vehicles. I don't understand that just adding a chief EME will help to speed up the examination. The long waiting time affects the life of the livelihood of the owners or drivers who drive for a living of the commercial vehicles. Now, some vehicle examination is done by some designated centers. They are non-government institutions. Are there any measures to prevent any dishonest practice? And finally, on the incident in Chiwonshan, which occurred on last Sunday, it was related to a LPG taxi. My understanding is that more than half of the LPG taxis are more than 10 years old. Will you look into enhancing the safety of LPG taxis, whether it is in terms of gas safety or in terms of overall vehicular safety? The Director. All private cars and goods vehicles below 1.9 tons, the examination is done by the designated centers, but the heavier vehicles are examined by the department's own vehicle examination center. I think the long waiting time is found in the designated centers. They, as for the waiting, we have enhanced our computer system. We asked the 22 designated centers to provide more time slots open on Sundays and also extend their working hours. In January and February, the waiting time was longer, but now the waiting time has been shortened a bit. We are now making preparations to invite interested companies to become designated centers. It has been more than 20 years that we have not added any designated car testing centers or DCTCs. And we also need to, or rather these, the requirements need to be updated, and there may be more capital requirements. If we have this CME post, that will be very helpful in achieving this goal. As for these DCTCs, members are concerned about the integrity. The ICAC did arrests and prosecuted some of the staff members of the DCTCs. The ICAC also worked with us on drawing up certain procedures, and recommendations were made, and we implemented those recommendations. We need an experienced engineer, a chief engineer, to help us to monitor the situation over the long term and also monitor the work procedures and workflow. And the examination has to be updated with the changes of an improvement to vehicles. As for the incident, it was really unfortunate. As for the examination of taxis, all commercial vehicles, including taxis, are examined by the vehicle examination centers of the Transport Department. And the gas tank, or LPG tank, has to be revalidated once every 5 years. The rules are strict. Mr. Tang is right. Many taxis are more than 10 years old. The replacement cycle has begun. And there are new LPG taxis provided by overseas manufacturers. There are more choices. We've assessed these new vehicles, and they are okay. Next, Mr. Li Jiayan. I hope that by creating this post, we can uphold vehicular safety. I notice a loophole, and I hope the director can change the law or find a way to plug the loophole. A few weeks ago, an engineering vehicle knocked down some pedestrians, and one dead, one was injured. That was the issue of the T license. I want to confirm whether T license vehicles do not need to be examined. And also T license, theoretically speaking, would not, vehicles with T license should not be allowed to drive from one site to another. It should only be allowed to be driven to a depot for repair or to a place for repair. Now, if an engineering vehicle is being driven to the place for repair, it shouldn't be driven. Instead, it should be towed. In fact, that engineering vehicle is being driven from one site to another instead of going to a place for repair. I'm alarmed that there is a loophole with regard to the T license. The T license includes many old vehicles, not only new vehicles. If there is no demand for vehicle examination for license, for vehicles with a T license, that will be very dangerous. Now, even if a vehicle is driven around inside a work site, it's still dangerous. Do they need to be examined? Concerning T license, the issue of T license or the trade license is to enable the trade to do business. They are unregistered new cars usually. They have to allow would-be buyers to do test runs. They have been assessed. They are considered to be all right. Many years ago, we have noted the abuse of T licenses. A few years ago, there was an amendment to the law. The use of the T license is very strict under the law. There must be a register. And a copy has to be of the register has to be kept in the vehicle, and also a copy kept by the owner. Now, in the incident mentioned by Mr. Lee, if somebody has abused the T license, the police will conduct. The police, of course, will conduct criminal investigation and will cooperate. In fact, whether people can still abuse the use of T license, say people use the T license not in the spirit of the law, not according to the intention of the law, then I think we are willing to look into that. As for engineering vehicles or commercial vehicles, they have to pass the annual examinations. Now, if they pass the annual examination, the license is expired. If it is to be transported from one place to another, then they should be told, or they should be transported in a safe manner instead of resorting to the T license. We will check whether the law has already prohibited that. If there is any loophole, we are willing to change that. If there is any abuse of the T license in breach of the law, we will work with the police to conduct criminal investigation.
Mr. Lee Jack-yen, a follow-up. Of course, we have no problem with the new vehicles because they've been examined, but I'm talking about engineering vehicles. Of course, you may say that people have abused the loophole and you should carry out criminal investigation. But I believe under the traffic ordinance, there is no criminal offense created for this abuse. And even if we allow engineering vehicles to operate in a construction site, is it true that, please come to your question. So I hope that you can plug the loophole with regard to the running of engineering vehicles in construction sites. If the trade license is not used according to the relevant legislation, it is an offense with a penalty. Whether we need to enhance the penalty is another issue. And as for construction sites, they are not public roads. So the use of machinery with rolls or wheels like a vehicle, so basically there is no licensing requirement. But I understand that there are other requirements under labor safety, and the operation of machinery is governed by labor laws. Mr. Leung Yu-chung, indeed, many vehicle owners have complained about the long waiting time for vehicle examination. Now, for instance, if the license is due next week, an owner did not know beforehand that the waiting time was so long. It could be as long as 2 to 3 months. As a result, the vehicle could not be used, and that could be a major impact on his livelihood. So you must improve that situation. According to Mrs. Young, the 22 examination centers will be open on Saturdays and Sundays. I'd like to know whether these measures have started already. And secondly, now if we have to examine the waiting arrangement for vehicle examination, since you've already proposed this new measure, what can the new chief E&M engineer do? Would you increase the number of vehicle examination test centers to more than 22? And you understand, you said that the technology for vehicle testing develops very rapidly, and you would like to enhance the capability of your division. Have you ever upgraded your technology in the past, or do you rely on this new CEME to do it for you? For the TCs, we have added new centers, and some of the measures are being implemented or already implemented. In the past, vehicles owner came to these centers very late. In fact, they can do so 4 months prior to the date of expiry. We have done a lot of publicities. We've asked our vehicle owners to make appointments for a vehicle test as early as 4 months before the license is due to expire. Yes, we want to increase the number of DCTCs to more than 22, but we have to consider the technological, the capital requirements on these DCTCs, and also possible changes envisaged. We have also to ensure that there is sufficient manpower to do it. So if the CEME post is created, he will be able to help us make better projections. What have we done in the past 20 years? We have followed the progress in motor vehicle technology. For instance, when there are new headlights, new technology of headlights, we will see whether the technology is popular and generally acceptable. So we will first train our colleagues, and it will be one of our vehicle test items. We will have colleagues to update the knowledge and accept new technology. And in the past decade, we have important developments in emissions. So we have worked with EPD for gases that are hazardous to our air quality. They are now included as one of our test items. So all this has been going on, and we will have new items added. And we will work with the EPD in annual vehicle examination as far as possible. So this new CEME is responsible for coordination. He will need support, but you do not have a boost in the overall establishment. So you have already got 22 DCTCs, and you will further increase the number. So would there be enough supporting staff? Since 2009, the establishment of the VSD has increased from 119 to 143. This 20-odd posts are mainly in a basic technological and a profession and supporting posts. We do not have created any new posts of, say, a senior engineer and technicians and SVEs. We have many soldiers, so to speak, in this division, but not enough generals to lead the team. Thank you. Mr. Chen, I'm worried that the administration is creating too many senior posts recently. I do not accept such practice because, of course, there are various levels, various ranks in your bureaucracy. Currently, the team is led by a senior EME, but you also have directors and assistant directors. You do not just rely on senior EMEs to be responsible. He is assisted or supported by assistant directors and directors. You argue as if this post is not strong enough, the whole team will collapse. But what about the other directorate grade officers? It's just like the FEHD. There are 11 levels, counting from the director to a street sweeper, who earn the least in income. So one decision will have to go through 11 levels to reach this street sweeper. There must be someone to assist this SEME. It's just like the IT bureau. Greg So is incompetent. He knows only how to give out his name cards, and as a result, an IT bureau has to be established. But this is not how the government works. Even within the transport department, you have division of labor. You have people responsible for traffic, some responsible for buses and minibuses. There are so many different areas of work. You are going to create the post of CEME. What about the other divisions? We are not talking about the transport department alone. What about other government departments? Using this concept, you have to keep creating senior posts. You talked about not having enough generals to lead the soldiers. You may end up having more generals than soldiers. These generals will only spend the time in meetings. You have to explain. Is it true that in the past things were not working and many disasters were caused by inadequate support in the senior level? What about the other directors and assistant directors? As I said, we have added more than 20 soldiers, so to speak, in the past few years. But we cannot just add soldiers without leaders. And there is work that has to be taken up by the general and not the soldiers. For instance, motor vehicle technology has been developing by leaps and bounds. We have new work, and we have a piece of legislation governing the makeup and maintenance of vehicles. We cannot ask the very junior staff to do it. We must ask someone who has the professional knowledge and with administrative experience to do it. For instance, a few years ago, we asked commercial vehicles to add devices to help them to reverse, and the industry needed support, and we had to consider the length of transitional period. We need someone with rich professional knowledge and very experienced in public administration, who understands the aspirations of the community as well as the industry. No matter how many junior posts we have. No, I'm not talking about the junior posts. What about the assistant commissioner of transport and the commissioner of transport? You have different levels of leadership. You think that the senior EME is not senior enough, but he should be supported by assistant commissioner and commissioner of the department. Yes. Yes, the Assistant Commissioner, Mr. Zhang, is next to me. He leads the VSSD, but he has to oversee other divisions. He has to be responsible for 5. Our licensing division, and our licensing division has a very complicated computer system. Our licenses for giving a different licensing division, electronic strategy division for the application of IT. For the licensing division, I think you're aware of the fact that we have many branches, and there are a lot of complicated licensing issues to be handled. So the work of this deputy commissioner has a very wide portfolio, and he has to give policy guidance to different branches. If the deputy commissioner has to go down to the nitty-gritty of work, then this is not a healthy sign. He should be assisted by other colleagues. And therefore, when it comes to the VSSD, there is a gap in human resources from the commissioner, deputy commissioner. The next level is the SEME. We need someone who is we need a CEME with rich administrative experience to lead the VSSD. Thank you. Yes, vehicle management is an important issue as society develops, and motor vehicle technology is developing very rapidly, and the design of motor vehicles is very different from what it used to be. We have more vehicles on the road, and I think it is necessary for the establishment to be boosted. I support the creation of these posts by the administration. The problem is recently vehicle examination has been a headache. Of course, you can do it 4 months. You can start booking for a slot 3 months before your license is due for renewal. But if everyone do it 3 months beforehand, very soon the slots for 4 months beforehand will also be all taken up. So you must enhance your capacity in this regard. There are now more stringent demands in vehicle testing, and the process is also more stringent. I've recently taken my vehicle for a test, and I think the people there took their work very seriously. Can you publicize this in your website? You must provide more information on DCTCs and also the different waiting times of these centers, and resources must be deployed in a reasonable manner so that consumers can know which center is more convenient and can get a slot earlier.
In fact, when the license has expired and the examination is not done, then we can't use our car. So can you tell us whether there can be any improvement at all? Now, concerning increasing the number of testing centers, I've already said that we will work on this. We are now actively preparing this, and with the creation of this post, we can speed up the process. As for the computer system, we are now working on the upgrading of the computer system of the vehicle examination center. The booking system of the 22 centers will be linked together so that through the computer, citizens know the time slots available in the centers. They cannot do internet booking, but they can still make telephone bookings. Some owner may get may have booked a session with one center, which is 2 to 3 months down the road, and suddenly he has found another center where he can get another session more recently. Then he will go to that center, and he has forgotten the booking that was made 2 to 3 months down the road. Now we want to set up the system so that he has to cancel his previous booking before he can make use of his new booking. This will help to avoid duplication of bookings. Mr. Wong, do you have any follow-up? I hope that can be implemented as early as possible. Dr. Fernando Zhang. Thank you, Chairman. The CME is created because of the improvement in technology and the increase in number of vehicles to be examined. I find it rather strange. This chief engineer is a rather senior post, and how can that help? You've pointed out that there are 690,000 licensed vehicles, 4 VECs and 22 DCTCs. In 2013, the 22 DCTCs did 300,000 vehicle tests, vehicle examinations. The capacity is, or the usage rate is very high, and there were cases in which corruption was involved in respect of these DCTCs, and the staff members of the DCTCs were arrested for taking bribes. Now you say because of the recommendations of the ICAC, the DCTCs has to set up measures of checks and balances, and there should be a directorate official who has the experience and also political sensitivity. Now that's the point I want to ask. Why you need a D1 who has political sensitivity? And why adding a D1 will help to shorten the waiting time? If you don't change the system, and if you don't increase the number of DTDC. Now, I lived in the U.S. for more than a decade. I drove, and there were many testing centers in the United States. Unlike the situation in Hong Kong, we only have 22. 220 aren't enough. You need to change the system. You just add a CEME. How can, with political sensitivity, still can't do anything? Now, the requirements have been tightened, and therefore the examination or procedures have been tightened, and examination time has been lengthened, therefore the queues have been lengthened. If you don't increase the number, how can you shorten the waiting time? What's the use of political sensitivity? Now, in answering the question, I've already said that the ICAC checked on the 22 DCTCs with regard to the management system and the examination procedures. And after that, recommendations made to us with regard to enhancing management to prevent the malpractices and corruption. We have implemented those recommendations. We understand that when you have a rule, there will be some way to get around it. We need to keep updating the management procedures. We believe that with a CEME, we will be more able to update and improve the procedures. As for the updating of examination procedures, the owners will be affected, the drivers will be affected, the citizens will be affected. The waiting time or examination time may be longer. There may be new requirements. The CEME has to have political sensitivity because from the perspective, he has to understand the issues from the perspective of the operators, the owners, the drivers, and how these new requirements have an impact on these stakeholders, and he has to explain to them so that the stakeholders to understand. And there is also the need to assess what standard of safety we should aim at. Should we aim at 150% safety, or how can we balance safety with the various factors? He has to be able to communicate with citizens, while at the same time he has to be sensitive, and we therefore need this CME. As for the procedures of the vehicle examination centers, we do not compromise on procedures because it's important to safety. As for number, we will increase the number, and when we increase the number of the designated centers, we need the help of to update the requirements. Mr. Charles Mock is waiting in the line, and then Mr. Albert Chan has asked for a second time. Do members want to ask any questions? I want to know. Well, then I will end this meeting after Mr. Mock has asked questions. I will roll over this item to the next meeting, which is the 12th of May, Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. Mr. Mock. Now, according to the paper, it's said that vehicular technology is improving with leaps and bounds, and therefore we need to adjust our rules and procedures. We have new energy vehicles. We have new we have intelligent driving systems, and so on and so forth. And we do update our systems as well. As for electric vehicles, you require some functions, including internet, will have to be removed before you allow those vehicles to run. Some some countries have balanced this by requiring the drivers to not use the internet while driving. But in Hong Kong, you don't even allow that. You don't allow any internet system on board. It seems that Hong Kong is too slow in balancing technology with safety requirement. Say for automatic intelligent, it's not automatic. In fact, it is a driverless vehicle is allowed. Some city has already embarked on testing this. Now, if you get a CME to help you with understanding new technology, I find it understandable. But in terms of legislative amendments, testing, pilot schemes, can you tell us whether you have any such ideas? The second question is this. Now you create this CME D1. You call it Chief Electrical and Mechanical Engineering post. I want to know whether it is permanently a engineering post. Now you ask for communication skills. In fact, engineers have good communication skills. and also you require political sensitivity. But will you finally fill it with an AO or somebody parachuted from outside, or you will promote the government engineers into this post? This is a CEME post and will be a CEME post. We have no intention to change the grade. I put a lot of emphasis on public administration experience and political sensitivity. Well, at the same time, professional and engineering knowledge of vehicles is also necessary. I want a chief engineer who has a lot of administrative experience, but I don't ask for an administrative officer. The one in the post has to understand the profession. There is no intention that it will become another grade. It will be filled by another grade. Mr. Moore is right. We need to meet international standards, and we need to find a suitable balance. Say, for example, when using your car, can you surf the internet? Can you receive images through a monitor in your vehicle? The VSSD, the E&M engineers of the VSSD are able to give their advice. At the same time, we also listen to the advice of other road safety experts. There are also advisory bodies within the government, and also experts from outside the government who give us views. But it's not just done by the EM engineers. We need to balance driving safety with technology. Many members still have questions on this item. I declare that the meeting is now adjourned. This item will be rolled over to the next meeting, which is the 12th of May, a Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. My thanks to the officials and the colleagues. Thank you.